So if you take a map of the Highlands area of western North Carolina, right?
Right.
And you draw a circle that represents just, I don't know, a 1-hour drive around the town,
Hmm.
you are capturing over 2,200 miles of fishable waterways.
Yeah, it's a staggering geographic reality.
2,200 miles. I mean, to put that into perspective for you, that is roughly the driving distance from New York City all the way to Salt Lake City.
Right, but instead of being stretched across an entire continent, it's intricately folded and woven into the valleys of just a single Appalachian region.
Exactly. Carved right into the gorge.
And because that water is primarily crystal clear, ice cold mountain runoff, it creates this, well, basically a near perfect biological engine for trout.
Oh, absolutely.
That sheer volume of habitat is what makes this specific region an absolute magnet for anglers from, all over the country.
But having 2,200 miles of water is actually, it's a bit of a double-edged sword. You can't just show up to the mountains with a rod, pick a random blue line on a map, and expect to catch a trophy fish.
No, definitely not. You'd be in for a rough day.
Right. So today's deep dive is your custom-tailored guide to navigating this incredible angler's paradise. We're going to map out the perfect fishing strategy for you.
Yeah, we'll explore how to match your skill level to the right river, which is huge.
Very huge. And the mechanics of adapting to the seasons. Plus, we really need to talk about navigating the legal landscape because it is surprisingly strict down there.
Oh, it really is, because getting it wrong doesn't just mean going home empty-handed. I mean, it can mean massive financial penalties or even jail time.
Which is wild to think about.
But it happens far more often than people realize. The regulatory environment for these waters is just as complex as the river systems themselves.
So, to make sense of all this, I like to look at this massive network of waterways, kind of like a sprawling ski resort.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Yeah, because you need a trail map, right? And you need an honest assessment of your own abilities. You wouldn't just accidentally wander onto a double black diamond ski run on your first day.
Right, you start on the bunny hill.
Exactly. So for the angler just finding their footing, or maybe someone bringing the kids along for a low-stress afternoon, what is our green circle bunny hill in the Highlands?
Well, your definitive green circle is the Cliffside Lake Recreation Area.
Okay, cliffside.
Yeah, it is highly manicured, very family-friendly, and completely accessible. You basically just pull up, pay a $4 daily use fee, and you instantly have access to a bathhouse, picnic areas, and a lake that the state heavily stocks with brook, brown, and rainbow trout.
But the sources we pulled for this deep dive gave us some fantastic local intel for cliffside, specifically for opening day, which hits on the first Saturday in April.
Oh, yeah, you have to know the trick for opening day.
Because if you just park at that first lot near the swimming dock, you're going to be shoulder to shoulder with everyone else doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, that's the classic trap of the easy access spots. So the local scoop actually advises that you drive all the way to the back of the recreation area,
That's the swimming part.
right past the swimming section, to where the drive actually dead ends and loops around. If you park there, you'll spot a set of wooden stairs.
Okay.
Take those stairs down to the Cliffside Loop Trail, and as you hike that trail, you will find these perfectly secluded little clearings that are carved right into the brush along the bank.
Oh, wow. So it gets you away from the crowds.
It immediately separates you, and it drops you into the deeper, shaded pockets where the trout naturally seek cover anyway.
See, that is the exact kind of intel you need. And a quick logistical note for anyone bringing the family. While Cliffside is great for swimming, the park strictly prohibits flotation devices. So leave the inflatables at home.
Good tip.
Now, let's step up the intensity a bit. I was looking at the topography for the Colassaja River, and it runs right alongside Highway 64, which makes it look like another easy green circle.
Oh, it looks incredibly inviting.
Yeah, you can see the waterfalls and those deep, glassy pools right from your car window. It practically begs you to just pull over and cast a line.
It really does, but this is a classic blue square slope that can violently turn into a black diamond if you misjudge it.
Really? Just from the highway?
Yeah, the Colassaja's roadside accessibility creates a very dangerous false sense of security. Wading in this specific river requires extreme caution.
Why is it so dangerous?
Well, the water is surging over incredibly slick, polished granite. When you are wading around those picturesque waterfalls, especially after a rainstorm when the water runs high, the currents beneath the surface are powerful and highly unpredictable.
So how does an angler actually manage that risk? I'm assuming you don't just wade in wearing old sneakers.
Oh, absolutely not. No sneakers. You need specific tactics here. You are wearing felt-soled wading boots or boots with metal studs just to grip that polished rock.
Right.
And you really should be using a wading staff to probe the depth and stability of the riverbed before every single step you take.
Wow. Got it.
Plus, you have to learn how to read the current seams.
Current seams.
Yeah, those are the lines where fast-moving water meets slow-moving water. Because stepping into the wrong side of a seam can literally sweep your legs out from under you.
Okay, so the Kilaja commands a lot of respect. But what if you want to leave the highway completely behind? Let's say you want that true off-the-grid, double black diamond wilderness experience.
Then you set your sights on the Chattooga River.
The Chattooga.
Yeah, and if that name triggers a vague cultural memory for you, it's because it's the river made famous by the 1972 movie Deliverance.
Cue the ominous banjo music.
I know. But you can leave the cinematic stereotypes behind. Today, the Chattooga is a designated wild and scenic river.
Which means what, exactly?
It's a federal protection that prevents any commercial development or damming. So if you hike into the upper sections, specifically near Bullpen Road or the Iron Bridge area, you are walking into immense, profound solitude.
Sounds amazing.
It is. The target here is native trout. But you're dealing with deep plunge pools, massive boulders, and steep shelf rock. You really have to earn every single fish you catch in that river.
Now, I was also reading about Panthertown Creek, which seems to offer a totally different kind of wilderness. It's located in a remote valley that people often call the Yosemite of the East.
Yeah, Panthertown is stunning.
The detail that really caught my eye is that the water there is stained brown by leaf tannins. It's essentially an entire ecosystem functioning like a giant cup of tea.
That's a great way to describe it.
Does that dark water make fishing harder? I mean, you can't see the fish, right?
It actually works to your advantage, surprisingly. Tannins are naturally occurring organic compounds that leach out of decaying pine needles, leaves, and bark.
Okay.
They stain the water a rich amber color, and because the water isn't crystal clear, it dramatically reduces the visual range of the fish.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, native brook trout are notoriously skittish, but that tannin-stained water provides a natural optical camouflage for you. It allows you to wade a little closer and make shorter, more controlled casts without instantly spooking every fish in the pool.
That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of tough environments, though, we also have to mention the Whitewater River. Just looking at the elevation map makes my legs hurt.
Oh, the whitewater is no joke.
You have to endure a grueling hike just to reach the water, but the payoff is that you get to fish in the gorge beneath Upper Whitewater Falls, which drops over 400 feet.
Yeah, it is actually one of the highest waterfalls east of the Rockies.
Wow.
And it's a medium freestone stream, which means its flow and temperature are dictated by rain and snowmelt, rather than, say, a stable underground spring.
So it fluctuates a lot.
Exactly. That gives it a very rugged, unpredictable character.
But let's balance the scales here. Let's say you don't want to hike down a mountain gorge, and you definitely don't want to battle slick rocks. You want to fish from the boat. But you absolutely loathe the sound of jet skis buzzing past you all afternoon.
Oh, I hate that. If that's you, your sanctuary is going to be Lake Sequoia.
Lake Sequoia.
Yes. It is a stillwater paradise, largely because of its incredibly strict regulations. They enforce a strict motor size limit and a no-wake zone for the vast majority of the lake.
Which effectively bans the jet skis.
Exactly. It bans jet skis and fast-moving recreational boats entirely, so you get pure tranquility while casting for trout, bass, and perch.
That sounds perfect.
And if physical accessibility is your primary concern, nearby Lake Glenville features dedicated 80 accessible fishing areas, like the Pine Creek and Powerhouse sites, making it super easy for everyone to get on the water safely.
Awesome. So we have our trail map now. We know where the Buddy Hills and the Double Black Diamonds are. But finding the water is just the first step. To actually catch anything, you have to understand the mechanics of the ecosystem.
Absolutely.
Because if you use the same tactics in July that you used in April, you are going to be casting at empty water.
Completely empty water. Trout are hypersensitive to their environment, particularly when it comes to water temperature and clarity.
So what are the best seasons?
Spring and fall are universally considered the golden seasons. The water temperatures sit right in that ideal cool but not freezing zone.
Right.
And that temperature triggers massive predictable hatches of aquatic insects like mayflies and caddisflies. So the fish are aggressively looking up at the surface to feed.
But summer, forces you to completely change your playbook.
Ah.
Because the water drops, it gets crystal clear, and the fish can see everything.
Yeah, summer fishing is highly technical. Because the water is low and clear, a trout's upward cone of vision is totally unobstructed.
Okay.
If you just walk up to the bank standing straight up, they will see your silhouette against the sky and vanish. So your first tactic is staying low, crouching, or casting from behind boulders.
Sneak attacks.
Exactly. And secondly, you have to adapt your gear. The sources emphasize using light tippets.
Now, for the uninitiated, the tippet is that final, nearly invisible piece of monofilament line that actually ties to your fly.
Precisely. In the summer, you have to use a hair-thin tippet so the fish can't see the line floating on the water.
That makes sense.
And because the aquatic bug hatches slow down in the heat, you switch your bait to terrestrial fly patterns.
Terrestrial, like land bugs.
Right. You are mimicking ants, beetles, and grasshoppers. In the summer heat, those bugs lose their grip on the overhanging tree branches and plop into the water. Trout actually listen for that tiny acoustic plop on the surface.
That is so cool. And the mechanics of the gear are fascinating too.
Yeah.
For streams like the Whitewater River, the specific recommendation is a 9-foot 4-weight fly rod with floating line.
Mm-hmm.
But why a 4-weight? Why not a 5 or a 6-weight, which are far more common rods?
It really comes down to physics and presentation. A 5 or 6-weight rod has a stiffer backbone. If you use a stiff rod with that hair-thin summer tippet we just talked about, the moment a trout strikes, the stiffness of the rod will snap the line immediately.
Oh, because there's no give.
Exactly. A 4-weight rod is lighter and more flexible. It acts like a shock absorber to protect your fragile line. Plus, it allows you to cast those tiny terrestrial flies delicately so they land like a real bug rather than a heavy piece of metal crashing into the pool.
We've covered spring, summer, and fall. But what happens when the temperature drops? The outline for this deep dive specifically highlighted the strategy for winter, which revolves around something called delayed harvest waters.
Yes, delayed harvest.
How does that system work?
It's actually a brilliant management strategy by the state. During the colder months, from fall through early spring, the state heavily stocks specific stretches of river.
Okay, so lots of fish.
Lots of fish. But during this winter period, strict rules apply. You can only use single hook, artificial lures, and it is strictly catch and release. You cannot keep a single fish.
So it essentially creates a densely populated, high-action training ground.
Exactly. Because no fish are being removed, the catch rates remain incredibly steady all winter long, even when the fish are sluggish from the cold.
That's great for practice.
It really is. It guarantees anglers have a place to experience consistent action. Then, in early June, the delay ends, the waters open up under standard hatchery regulations, and people can actually start harvesting them.
But we cannot talk about hatchery fish without addressing the massive, traumatic shift this ecosystem is currently undergoing.
No, we can't.
Anyone planning a trip needs a pretty serious environmental reality check regarding Hurricane Helene.
It is a very sobering reality. Hurricane Helene caused devastating damage to western North Carolina. The flooding was so catastrophic that it quite literally carved new channels and altered the physical routes of several river systems.
Just completely reshaped the landscape.
Yes, but the most significant impact for anglers was the severe damage to the Armstrong State Fish Hatchery.
And it's a compounding crisis, right? Because the state was already preparing for a massive, long overdue renovation of the Bobby N. Setzer State Fish Hatchery.
Right, which was built in the 1950s and is well past its structural lifespan.
So both facilities are basically out of commission.
Correct. When you combine the hurricane damage at Armstrong with the mandatory offline time for the Setzer facility rebuild, the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission is projecting a massive production bottleneck.
And the numbers are staggering. They are bracing for an approximate 65% reduction in trout stockings for about 3 years, beginning in 2026.
It's a huge hit to the system.
That statistic is jarring, a 65% reduction. If 2/3 of the easy-to-catch state-stocked fish just vanish from the ecosystem, what does a fisher actually do? Do you just pack up your rod until 2029?
No, you don't have to do that, but you do have to completely change your mindset. This reduction is forcing a major cultural shift away from relying on hatchery fish,
Towards what?
placing the focus squarely on the wild stream-born populations. For example, the Davidson River is famous for its population of wild brown trout.
But a wild brown trout that has survived in a river for 3 years is vastly different from a pellet-fed trout that was dumped out of a hatchery truck yesterday.
Oh, it's night and day. Wild trout are apex survivors. They are highly suspicious of anything that looks unnatural.
So you can't just stumble up to the bank.
No, you can't just stand in the open in a bright shirt and throw a flashy spinner. You have to wear drab colors to blend into the forest canopy. You have to wade silently so you don't send pressure waves through the water.
It sounds more like hunting.
It is. It makes the pursuit far more challenging, but for many, far more rewarding. And crucially, it makes rigorous catch and release practices absolutely vital because those wild fish are now the sole breeding population keeping the rivers alive.
Okay, so we've covered the geography, the seasonal tactics, and the post-hurricane reality. Now we have to wade into the bureaucracy.
The fun stuff.
Right, because catching a cunning wild brown trout is an incredible thrill, but it becomes a massive legal nightmare if you haven't paid your dues. The pristine nature of this area isn't free to maintain.
No, it's not. And ignorance of the law is never an accepted excuse. Game wardens strictly enforce these rules. Nationally, getting caught fishing without a license is a severe offense.
How severe?
Depending on where you are in the U.S., fines range from $15 up to a staggering $12,000.
$12,000 just for fishing?
Yep. Plus, I understand there were penalties for the fish themselves.
Wait, like per fish?
Yes. On top of the base fine, many jurisdictions levy a restitution penalty per fish. That can range from $5,000 to $1,000 for every single fish you illegally pulled from the water.
Wow. Okay, so if we zoom in on North Carolina specifically, what is the exact legal exposure if you get caught fishing the Kallasasha or Cliffside Lake without a license?
In North Carolina, fishing without a license is classified as a Class 3 misdemeanor.
Okay.
The base fines range from $35 to $500. And yes, it actually carries the potential for up to 30 days in jail.
Facing jail time over a trout is a terrifying prospect, but the irony is doing it legally is incredibly cheap.
It really is.
North Carolina's pricing is very accessible. An annual inland license is $30 for a state resident and $54 for a non-resident. If you're just visiting the Highlands for a vacation, a short-term 10-day inland license is only $11 for residents and $28 for out-of-staters.
It is a remarkably low barrier to entry, especially when you track where that money actually goes.
Right, it's not just disappearing into the ether.
No, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, along with state wildlife commissions, channel those funds directly back into the dirt and water. That money funds habitat restoration, water quality monitoring, and the multi-million-dollar rebuilds of the hatcheries we just discussed.
But let me play devil's advocate for the listener for a second.
Sure.
Let's say I hike 3 miles deep into the Chattooga River Gorge. I'm standing in a river that has been flowing for millennia. The fish are born in the wild, they live in the wild, and they die in the wild. Why on earth do I have to pay the state government to catch a fish that belongs to nature?
It's an excellent question, and it is best answered by the economic concept known as the tragedy of the commons.
Okay, break that down for us.
When a natural resource is completely free and unregulated, individuals acting in their own self-interest will inevitably deplete it. If everyone could hike into the Chattooga and take as many wild trout as they wanted year-round, that native population would be entirely wiped out in a matter of years.
Because everyone would just take what they could get.
Exactly. The license fee is the financial mechanism that prevents that collapse. It pays for the wardens who stop poachers, the biologists who monitor disease, and the infrastructure to repair riverbanks after hurricanes.
So it's an investment?
Yes. You aren't buying the fish from the government. You are paying your share of the maintenance cost to ensure the ecosystem continues to exist.
It's the maintenance fee for the ski resort.
Exactly.
Now, if you are moving around the region, you have to be hyper-aware of state borders. North Carolina has reciprocal fishing agreements for specific boundary waters with Georgia, Tennessee, and Virginia.
Which is very convenient.
Right, meaning your North Carolina license is valid on those shared border waters.
But there is a massive exception to that rule. North Carolina explicitly does not have a reciprocal agreement with South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so if you are fishing a river that crosses the southern border and you drift into South Carolina waters, your North Carolina license is immediately void. If a South Carolina warden checks you, you will be fined.
That is a critical geographic trap to avoid. And the rules go beyond just holding the right piece of paper, too. They strictly dictate the physical gear you use.
They do. To minimize the mortality rate of released fish, federal and state agencies frequently mandate specific gear.
Like what?
One of the most common regulations when fishing with live bait is the required use of circle hooks.
Ah, circle hooks. Explain the physical mechanics of a circle hook, because it's honestly a brilliant piece of conservation engineering.
It really is. So a standard hook is shaped like the letter J with the sharp point facing straight up.
Right, just a normal fish hook.
Exactly. If a trout swallows the bait deeply, that straight point easily catches in their soft stomach or esophagus, causing fatal internal bleeding.
Which is terrible if you're trying to do catch and release.
Right. But a circle hook is different. The sharp point is curved sharply inward, pointing back toward the shank of the hook.
So it's almost closed off.
Exactly. Because the point is curled inward, if a fish swallows it, the hook slides harmlessly back out of the stomach and throat.
It doesn't catch on anything soft.
Right. It only catches when it reaches the bony hinge at the corner of the fish's mouth, where the angle forces the point to grab.
Oh, that's so smart.
It hooks them safely in the lip about 90% of the time, meaning you can easily remove it and release the fish unharmed.
And depending on where and what you are fishing, there are also rules mandating dehooking tools and venting devices.
Yes, venting devices are crucial for deep water.
Right. A venting device is essentially a hollow needle used for deep water fish that experience barotrauma. Because when you pull a fish up from deep water too quickly, the pressure change causes their swim bladder to expand rapidly, acting like a balloon.
It's horrible for the fish.
It is. If you just toss them back, they can't sink, they just float helplessly on the surface for predators. The venting tool safely releases that trapped gas so they can swim back down.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered the fines, the jail time, the border traps, and the mandatory gear. If all of this legal bureaucracy is making you nervous, there is a completely legal, zero-stress loophole to test the waters.
Oh, yes. Every state offers something called free fishing days.
Free fishing days.
Yeah, these are specific days where the state waives the license requirement entirely. Florida is exceptionally generous with this, offering 8 separate free days throughout the year for both freshwater and saltwater.
North Carolina, however, leans heavily into patriotism for their loophole.
I do.
The state declares a single day, July 4th, as Free Fishing Day. From 12:00 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. on Independence Day, anyone can fish in any public waters, including coastal and designated trout waters, without purchasing a license.
It's a great opportunity.
And for parents, there is a permanent loophole. Youth under the age of 16 are entirely exempt from fishing license requirements in North Carolina 365 days a year.
But we really must emphasize a crucial caveat about July 4th. The word free only applies to the license document itself.
Right.
It does not suspend the laws of the river.
Exactly. Think of July 4th as a free trial for a streaming service. You don't have to enter your credit card to watch the movie, but the platform's terms of service are still 100% active. You still can't pirate the content.
That's a perfect way to put it. Every single environmental regulation still applies. The daily bag limits dictating how many fish you can keep, the minimum size limits, the seasonal closures, and the gear restrictions like those mandatory circle hooks, all of those are strictly enforced.
So game wardens are still out there.
Oh, game wardens are heavily patrolling on July 4th, and if you have too many fish in your cooler or fish that are too small, you will be hit with the exact same fines as you would any other day of the year.
So, bringing this all together, your most critical piece of equipment isn't your rod, your flies, or your waders. It's your knowledge.
Absolutely.
Whether you are teaching your kids to cast on the Bunny Hill at Cliffside Lake, navigating the technical, low-water summer conditions with a 4-weight rod, or hiking into the rugged Chattooga River Gorge to hunt wild trout, being deeply informed is what guarantees an incredible outdoor adventure rather than a legally costly disaster.
And as we navigate this transitional period in Western North Carolina, adapting to a 65% reduction in hatchery fish and learning the stealth required to catch wild trout, it forces us to recognize our role in the ecosystem.
We're part of it.
We are. Anglers aren't just visitors. Through the financial engine of licensing and the ethics of catch and release, they are the active stewards of these 2,200 miles of water.
It is a brilliant system, but it leaves us with a profound, lingering question. If the entire infrastructure of conservation, the biologists, the wardens, the habitat restoration, and the hatchery rebuilds, is entirely funded by the people buying licenses and standing in the river, what happens to nature's upkeep if fewer people decide to fish in the future? Who pays to protect the wild when the anglers are gone?